The air hung heavy with grief, a palpable weight that seemed to press down on everyone present. A chill wind whispered through the ancient oak trees, their leaves rustling like mournful sighs, echoing the sorrow that filled the hearts of those gathered. Beneath their somber gaze, Emily was laid to rest, her grave adorned with lilies, her favorite. The flowers, vibrant yet delicate, seemed to mirror the fragility of life itself.
Daniel, her husband, stood as a statue of despair, his head bowed, shoulders slumped. His grief was a silent scream, a testament to the love they had shared. His sorrow seemed to permeate the very air, suffocating those around him. It was as if his pain was a tangible force, wrapping around the mourners like a shroud.
Sophie, Emily's sister, watched Daniel from behind her black veil. Her eyes, though hidden, were sharp and observant, taking in every detail. Her heart ached for her sister, gone too soon. The pain was a constant gnawing presence, a reminder of the void Emily had left behind. But beneath the sorrow, a seed of doubt began to sprout. It was a small, insistent whisper that something was not quite right.
Daniel's grief, though convincing, felt performative. There was a certain stiffness to his movements, a rehearsed quality to his expressions. Like an actor meticulously playing a part, his sorrow seemed too perfect, too controlled. She remembered the raw, unfiltered agony that had ripped through her when their parents died. The grief had been a wild, uncontrollable force, unlike the measured sorrow Daniel displayed. Daniel's grief felt different, rehearsed. It was as if he was following a script, each tear and sigh perfectly timed.
Sophie's gaze swept over the mourners, their faces a tapestry of sadness and sympathy. Each expression told a story of loss, of shared memories, of a life cut short. Their whispers, hushed and polite, reached her ears as condolences were offered, memories shared. The words were a balm, yet they did little to ease the ache in her heart. Yet, amidst the sombre tableau, something felt amiss. There was an undercurrent of unease, a sense that not everything was as it seemed. A discordant note in a mournful symphony, a subtle dissonance that set her on edge.
Sophie couldn't shake off the feeling, a knot of unease tightening in her stomach. It was a persistent gnawing sensation that refused to be ignored. It was as if a cold wind blew through her, whispering doubts she couldn't ignore. The more she tried to push them away, the stronger they became. She loved Emily, fiercely and protectively. Their bond had been unbreakable, forged through years of shared experiences and mutual support, and she owed it to her sister to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Determination steeled her resolve, and she knew she wouldn't rest until she had answers.
Days turned into nights, each one a painful reminder of Emily's absence. The once vibrant and bustling home now stood as a silent testament to the void she left behind. Every corner of the house seemed to whisper her name, and the shadows seemed to dance with memories of her laughter. Sophie found herself drawn to her sister's empty house, a place once filled with laughter and warmth, now echoing with silence. The walls, which had once witnessed countless family gatherings and celebrations, now stood cold and uninviting. It was as if the house itself mourned Emily's absence. She wandered through the rooms, her fingers trailing over furniture, picking up photographs, their edges now gathering dust. Each step she took was heavy with the weight of memories, and each room she entered seemed to hold a piece of Emily's spirit. Each object held a memory, a shard of Emily's life. The photographs, once vibrant and full of life, now seemed to be mere shadows of the past. They were fragments of moments that Sophie desperately tried to piece together, hoping to find some semblance of her sister within them. Sophie clung to them, desperately trying to hold on to the fading image of her sister. She spent hours on the porch, flipping through old photo albums, her heart aching with every turn of the page. The more she looked, the more she realized how much she had missed, how many moments had slipped through her fingers.
In Emily's study, surrounded by books and the scent of lavender, Sophie stumbled upon a small leather-bound diary tucked away in a drawer. The study, once a place of solace and creativity for Emily, now felt like a treasure trove of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Her heart pounded in her chest. It was locked. The diary seemed to hold the answers to the questions that had been plaguing Sophie's mind. What had Emily been going through? What secrets had she kept hidden within these pages?
Days later, she found the key tucked away in an old book of poetry. The discovery felt almost serendipitous, as if Emily had left a trail of breadcrumbs for Sophie to follow. The key was small and ornate, a perfect match for the diary's lock. Her hands trembled as she unlocked the diary, her heart heavy with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The moment the lock clicked open, it was as if a floodgate of emotions had been released. Sophie took a deep breath, bracing herself for what she might find within the pages. The pages, filled with Emily's elegant handwriting, spoke of her hopes, her dreams, her love for Daniel. Each entry was a window into Emily's soul, revealing the depth of her emotions and the intensity of her experiences. Sophie felt a connection to her sister that she hadn't felt in years.
But as Sophie delved deeper, a chilling change crept into the entries. The once hopeful and loving words began to take on a darker tone, filled with uncertainty and fear. It was as if Emily's world had slowly started to crumble around her. There were whispers of unease, veiled fears, and growing concerns about Daniel's possessiveness. The entries painted a picture of a relationship that had become increasingly toxic, with Daniel's behavior becoming more and more controlling. "He gets upset when I don't tell him everything," one entry read. The words were simple, but they carried a heavy weight, revealing the strain that Daniel's possessiveness had placed on Emily. Another spoke of his controlling behavior, his jealousy rearing its ugly head over harmless interactions. Emily's once vibrant and independent spirit seemed to have been slowly suffocated by Daniel's insecurities.
Sophie felt a cold dread seep into her bones. The more she read, the more she realized the extent of Emily's suffering. It was a chilling revelation that left her feeling both helpless and determined to uncover the truth. These weren't the words of a happily married woman. They were the cries of someone who felt trapped, suffocated by the very person who was supposed to love and protect her. These were the desperate pleas of a trapped bird, longing for the freedom of the open sky. Sophie knew she had to find out what had truly happened to her sister, and she vowed to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Fueled by a potent cocktail of grief and suspicion, Sophie decided to confront Daniel. She had spent countless sleepless nights piecing together fragments of conversations, cryptic messages, and Emily's increasingly desperate diary entries. The weight of her sister's words pressed heavily on her heart, urging her to seek the truth, no matter how painful it might be. She found him at his house, a picture of restrained mourning. The house itself seemed to echo his sorrow, its windows dark and somber, as if the very walls were grieving. His face was etched with a practiced sadness, his eyes holding a permanent glint of moisture. It was a performance so convincing that anyone else might have been fooled, but not Sophie. But Sophie saw through the facade, the meticulous performance that had fooled so many. She had seen genuine grief before, and this was not it. This was something else entirely, something darker.
"Daniel," she began, her voice trembling with suppressed emotion, the weight of her sister's suffering lending strength to her words. "I need to talk to you about Emily." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken accusations and the promise of revelations.
He looked up, his expression a mixture of surprise and apprehension. It was as if he had been caught off guard, unprepared for the confrontation that was unfolding.
"Of course, Sophie," he said, his voice a soft murmur. "Anything at all." His tone was gentle, almost too gentle, as if he were trying to soothe a wild animal.
Sophie took a deep breath, gathering her courage. She knew this was her moment, the point of no return. She told him about the diary, about Emily's growing fear and unease. Each word was a dagger cutting through the veneer of his composed demeanor. She spoke of his controlling behavior, his possessiveness that had cast a shadow over their marriage. The diary entries painted a picture of a man who was far from the loving husband he claimed to be. Daniel's initial shock gave way to carefully crafted indignation. His face twisted into a mask of righteous anger, as if he were the one who had been wronged.
He denied everything, dismissing Sophie's concerns as the ramblings of a grieving sister, her judgment clouded by grief. His words were smooth, practiced, as if he had rehearsed this very conversation. He painted a picture of their marriage as idyllic, their love unwavering. He spoke of happy times, of shared dreams and unbreakable bonds.
But Sophie saw the flicker of panic in his eyes, the subtle tightening of his jaw when she mentioned the diary. It was a fleeting moment, but it was enough. His denials rang hollow in her ears. Sophie knew with a sickening certainty that Daniel was not the man he pretended to be. The truth was there, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. He was hiding something, a dark secret lurking beneath his carefully constructed facade of grief, and Sophie was determined to unmask the lies no matter the cost. Sophie left Daniel's house that day with a heart full of dread and a mind racing with countless questions. She knew she needed concrete evidence, something tangible to expose Daniel's web of lies. Her investigation led her down a twisting rabbit hole of half-truths and carefully concealed secrets. She discovered a life insurance policy taken out on Emily just months before her accident. The payout substantial enough to raise eyebrows. The beneficiary, of course, was Daniel.
Her blood ran cold. This, coupled with Emily's diary entries, painted a chilling picture.
Determined to uncover the truth, Sophie delved deeper into Daniel's life. She learned from neighbors about his frequent, unexplained absences, times when he would disappear for days, offering vague excuses upon his return.
One neighbor, an elderly woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper memory, recalled a heated argument she had overheard between Daniel and Emily a few weeks before the accident. They were shouting, the woman said, her voice trembling with age. I couldn't make out the words, but the man's voice, it was full of anger, of rage.
The pieces of the puzzle were slowly falling into place, revealing a sinister picture that chilled Sophie to the bone. Daniel's carefully curated persona of a grieving husband was crumbling, revealing the monster lurking beneath.